In what is almost an unprecedented move, President Trump invited lawmakers to the White House today and peeled back the curtains by actually allowing TV cameras into the room to capture their debate on immigration. Now, most of you, I'm sure, were unable to watch this play out in full, so we're going to play large portions for you tonight in case you missed it. Now, the president started off the discussion by telling members of Congress that border security has to come first in any deal. Yes, and we want the wall. Take a look.
We're here today to advance bipartisan immigration reform that serves the needs of the American families, workers, and taxpayers. It's DACA. We've been talking about DACA for a long time. I've been hearing about it for years, long before I decided to go into this particular line of work. And maybe we can do something. We have a lot of good people in this room, a lot of people that have a great spirit for taking care of people we represent, we all represent. For that reason, any legislation on DACA, we feel, at least a strong part of this group feels, has to accomplish three vital goals. And Chairman Goodlatte will be submitting a bill over the next 2 to 3 days that will cover many of these things. And obviously that will, if it gets passed, it'll go to the Senate and they can negotiate and we'll see how it all turns out. But I feel having the Democrats in with us is absolutely vital, because this should be a bipartisan bill. This should be a bill of love. Truly, it should be a bill of love, and we can do that. But it also has to be a bill where we're able to secure our border. Drugs are pouring into our country at a record pace. A lot of people are coming in that we can't have. We've greatly stiffened, as you know, and fewer people are trying to come in, but we have tremendous numbers of people and drugs pouring into our country. So in order to secure it, we need a wall. We need closing enforcement. We have to close enforcement loopholes, give immigration officers, and these are tremendous people, the border security agents, the ICE agents, we have to give them the equipment they need. We have to close loopholes. And this really does include a very strong amount of different things for border security. I think everybody in the room would agree to that. I think that it's a question of amounts, but I think everyone agrees we have to have border security. I don't think there'd be anybody that says no. Second, it has to be a bill to end chain migration. Chain migration is bringing in many, many people with one, and often it doesn't work out very well. Those many people are not doing us right. And I think a lot of people in the room, and I'm not sure I can speak for everybody, but a lot of the people in this room want to see chain migration ended. And we have a recent case along the West Side Highway having to do with chain migration, where a man ran over, killed 8 people, and many people injured badly, loss of arms, loss of legs. A horrible thing happened. And then you look at the chain and all the people that came in because of him. Terrible situation. And the other is to cancel the lottery program. They call it visa lottery. I just call it lottery, where countries come in and they put names in a hopper. They're not giving you their best names. Common sense means they're not giving you their best names. They're giving you people that they don't want.
Now, as you watch this tonight, remember, this is the same president that the media and every Democrat has been telling you for days and weeks, and in some cases months, is absolutely crazy. No, he was very engaged. He was totally in charge and being transparent, extremely patient, and common sense solutions were being offered. He was giving you, the American people, a rare glimpse into a historic process on the important issue of immigration reform. And just a few hours ago, well, the president tweeted, "As I made very clear today, our country needs the security of the wall on the southern border, which must be a part of any DACA approval." President obviously now refusing to back down on building the border wall. I've been saying this for months and years. In order for the GOP to be successful, you guys want to win the midterm elections? Build 200 or 300 miles of the border wall. Go down there and cut your commercials. Promise made, promise kept, voters happy. The American people need to see tangible results, and progress being made on this key promise is key for November. This has to be fund the wall, build the wall first, because it's always like, oh, you get the tax increase, you never get the spending cuts they promise. You always get the consideration, the amnesty, whatever it happens to be, The wall never gets built. We have been down this road. We've seen this rodeo before. You Republicans, you want to win in November? You're up for election, not Donald Trump. Put the American people, put their security first, and show them that by November, you're keeping your promises. Just smart, good for the country, good politics. After the president's remarks, Democrats, they quickly moved to their debate. All they care about is amnesty, DACA, amnesty, and DACA. Take a look.
Democrats are for security at the borders. I want to state that emphatically. There's not a Democrat that is not for having secure borders. There are obviously differences, however, Mr. President, on how you affect that. You just indicated that yourself. And you indicated this would be a first step, and then we continue to talk, as we're talking today, about how we best secure the border. There are differences of opinion within your party and within our party. So I would urge that we move forward on protecting the DACA protected individuals, young people, young adults, as you pointed out in one of your statements, who are productive parts of our community, that we protect them and get that done. And then, because I think everybody around the table, as you pointed out, is for security, and then the issue is going to be how do we best affect that border security. So I would urge us to move, as Senator Durbin has urged us to move, on the DACA students. As a matter of fact, the Speaker, I think today, but maybe yesterday, said we need to solve the DACA issue, and we need to solve it in a way that is permanent, not temporary. And I agree with him on that issue.
And interestingly, when you say that, President Obama, when he signed the executive order, actually said he doesn't have the right to do this. And so you do have to go through Congress, and you do have to make it permanent. Whether he does, whether he doesn't, let's assume he doesn't. You said it. And that was a temporary stopgap. I don't think we want that. I think we want to have a permanent solution to this. And I think everybody in this room feels that way and very strongly.
What happened, Mr. President, I think, is that the Senate passed a comprehensive immigration bill, as you know. Right. We did not consider it in the House, so we didn't reach those issues. Very frankly, on border security, Mr. McCall, the chairman of the committee, reported out a unanimous security solution, which we then included in the bill that we filed on comprehensive immigration reform. So I think we can reach agreement.
Well, I also think that after we do DACA, and I really believe we should be able to be successful, I really think we should look in terms of your permanent solution and to the whole situation with immigration. I think a lot of people in this room would agree to that also, but we'll do it in steps, and most people agree with that, I think, Dick. We'll do the steps. Even you say, let's do this, and then we go phase two. Kevin, what would you like to say?
Well, first, I want to thank you for bringing everybody together. You got the Senate, you got the House, you got both parties. And I like the exchange of ideas. And I think everybody has a point here. The one thing I don't want to have happen here is what I saw in the past. There were former bills that were passed on border security years ago that never got finished. There were immigration bills passed that were right back at the table with the same problem. Let's make a commitment to each one, and most importantly to the American people, that when we get done and come to an agreement, that we're not back at this problem 3-4 years from now. That's why, yes, we've got to do DACA, and I agree with you 100%. But if we do not do something with the security, if we do not do something with the chain migration, we are fooling each other that we solved a problem. You know how difficult this issue is. So let's collectively, we're here at the table together. I'll be the first one to tell you we're all going to have to give a little, and I'll be the first one willing to. But let's solve the problem, but let's not tell the American public at the end that it's solved when it's not.
Great points by Kevin McCarthy. Here are some of the other big moments from today's immigration debate. Take a look at this.
The country is doing well in so many ways, but there's such divisiveness, such division, and I really believe we can solve that. I think this system is a very bad system in terms of getting together, and I'm going to leave it up to you, but I really believe you can do something to bring it together.
Other than going to dinner with Bob, I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't think I've seen a better chance to get it done than I do right now because of you. John's right. I'm not going to support a bill if you don't support it. I've had my head beat out a bunch. I'm still standing. I'm Lindsey Gramnesty, Lindsey Gomez. You name every name you want to give to me has been assigned to me. And I'm still standing. The people of South Carolina want a result. How could I get elected I've been for a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people because I have no animosity toward them. I don't want crooks. I don't want bad hombres. I want to get a merit-based immigration system to make sure we can succeed in the 21st century. I'm willing to be more than fair to the 11 million. I just don't want to do this every 20 years.
The chain migration, though, has taken a very big hit in the last year with what's happening. I mean, you're looking at these killers, whether you like or not. We're looking at these killers, and then you see 18 people came in, 22 people came in, 30 people came in with this one person that just killed a lot of people. I really don't believe there are a lot of Democrats that are going to be supporting chain migration anymore.
Should we have the Homeland Security
Yeah,
Secretary?
if you don't mind, just on a
Yes,
couple
go.
things on border security, I just want to try to make sure we're all linking. The reason that border security is so important to have as part of this discussion is that it doesn't solve the problem if we can apprehend people, but we can't remove them. So we need the wall system, which is some physical infrastructure, as the president described, personnel and technology, but we have to close those legal loopholes, because the effect of that is this incredible pull up from Central America that just continues to exacerbate the problem. So border security has to be part of this, or we will be here again in 3, 4, 5 years. Again, maybe unfortunately sooner.
I just want to reemphasize what Secretary Nielsen said. It is so important that you understand when you talk about border security, if you apprehend somebody at the border, but then you cannot send them back outside the United States, even though they're unlawfully present in the United States, you have not solved this problem, because they're then released into the interior of the country and the problem persists. And that sends a message back to wherever they've come from.
I agree,
Hey,
Bob.
come
And
do
you
it.
know what? We're going to negotiate that out. I agree,
Absolutely.
and I think a lot of people agree on both sides.
The other thing that we got to look at, the wall itself, Mr. President, if you talk to your Border Patrol chief or the former Border Patrol chiefs, I've asked them, how much time does the wall buy you? They'll say a couple minutes or a few seconds. And this is our own Border Patrol chiefs that have said that.
It's not mine.
But
Mine is made clear the wall works.
oh, well,
It's not, the wall works.
They say without the wall, we cannot have border security.
Yeah.
let me show
And all
you.
you have to do is ask Israel. Look what happened with them.
I
Without
would
the,
Ask you,
Henry,
ask
without the wall, you
Diego.
can't have.
All right,
The wall works.
Homeland Appropriations, your chief was there and the former chiefs have all said that. Now, the other thing
they
is,
didn't do a very good job.
well, if you look at, this is where the walls, Mr. President, if you look at where the walls are at right now, this is where the activity is, where the walls are at right
We
now.
have massive miles of area where people are pouring through. Now, one of the good things, because of our rhetoric or because of the perceived, my perceived attitude, fewer people are trying to come through. That's a great thing. And that, therefore, I mean, our numbers have been fantastic, maybe for all the right
But
reasons.
let me just finish my thought. I want to ask you that we're playing, you saw the game last night, it was a good game last night. We're playing defense on the 1 yard line, called the U.S. border. We spend over $18 billion a year on the border. If we think about playing defense on the 20-yard line, if you look at what Mexico has done, they stopped thousands of people on the southern border with Guatemala. We ought to be looking
Henry,
at working with
we stopped them. We stopped them. You know why? Mexico told me, the president told me, everybody tells me, not as many people are coming through their southern border because they don't think they can get through our southern border, and therefore they don't come. That's what happened with Mexico. We did Mexico a tremendous favor.
We actually put appropriations to help them with the southern
The
border.
point is, I know, we always give everybody, every other nation gets money but ours.
But finally,
We're always looking for money. We give the money to other
But
nations.
finally, the last one,
That
Mr.
we have to
President,
stop.
is instead of playing defense on the 1 yard line, if you look, this is your material. We know where the stash houses are at. We know where the hotels are at. We know where they are across the river.
And we're going after them.
Why stop? Why play defense on the 1 yard line?
We're going after them like never before. We're going
All I'm
after the
saying
stash
is, if we
houses.
focus on DACA, we can work on the other things separately. On sensible border security, listen to the folks that are from the border.
And you
we
folks
can
are going to
work
have to,
together.
you're one voice. You folks are going to have to come up with a solution. And if you do, I'm going to sign that solution.
Yes.
We have a lot of smart people in this room, really smart people. We have a lot of people that are good people, big hearts, they want to get it done. I think almost everybody, I can think of one or two I don't particularly like, but that's okay. No, I think everybody. Look, Henry, everybody wants a solution. I'm trying to figure that out. Everybody wants a solution. You want it, Henry, and I want it.
Is there any agreement without the wall?
No, there wouldn't be.
The wall has to be there.
You need it. John, you need the wall. I mean, it's wonderful. I'd love not to build the wall, but you need the wall. And I will tell you this, the ICE officers and the Border Patrol agents, I had them just recently up. They say if you don't have the wall, you know, in certain areas, obviously, that aren't protected by nature, if you don't have the wall, you cannot have security. Just can't have it. It doesn't work.
If you don't have the wall, you'll never have security. Also, the DHS Secretary Nielsen made some great points, as you saw in that exchange. And as we saw today, the president and even some Republicans are saying the border wall has to come first. It has to. And then Congress can talk about other things. To me, that's the right answer. If you build the wall expeditiously and fully fund it, you can move forward. You can have your discussions. Chain migration also must go away. The lottery system, we've learned in the last year, must go away. And when it comes to the Democrats, they are massive hypocrites, and they're being exposed as nothing but political opportunists on the issue of immigration. I doubt anyone else in the media is about to show you these massive flip-flops. Take a look.
I voted numerous times when I was a senator to spend money to build a barrier to try to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in. And I do think you have to control your borders.
Where it was necessary, we did support some fencing. Where it was necessary, we did add Border Patrol agents. We have done what by any fair estimate would have to conclude is a good job, quote, securing the border.
People who enter the United States without our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who entered the U.S. legally. The American people will never accept immigration reform unless they truly believe that their government is committed to ending future illegal immigration.
The president's decision to end DACA was heartless and it was brainless. If this order stands, hundreds of thousands of families will be ripped apart. Tens of thousands of American businesses will lose hardworking employees.
But those who enter our country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law. And because we live in an age where terrorists are challenging our borders, we cannot allow people to pour into the U.S. undetected, undocumented, and unchecked. If there are disruptions in these countries, if there's conflict, if there's bad governance, if there's war, if there's poverty, in this new world that we live in, we can't isolate ourselves. We can't hide behind a wall.
It shows how far left now this Democratic Party has moved. By the way, anyone else going to point out the hypocrisy? I guess now that it's politically expedient for the Democratic Party and now opposing the policies they were passionately supporting en masse. Now, FoxNews.com has a great article up today showcasing the Democrats' blatant hypocrisy on immigration. Here's the headline. Dems change tune on border wall after backing barrier, under Obama. And the reporting points out that 5 years ago, under Barack Obama, the entire Democratic caucus voted to build 700 miles of fencing along the southern border. It's the same area that President Trump's proposed border wall would cover. They didn't get the job done, and it doesn't end there. The bills Democrats supported, which was called the Economic Opportunity and Immigration Modernization Act, also included $40 billion over a decade to strengthen border security measures, and also called for doubling the number of border agents to be hired. Would have been a good idea. Here's what this tells us. Democratic Party and their opposition to what President Trump is asking for, it's nothing but a total farce. It's about playing politics, identity politics. It has nothing to do with the facts and reality about what is going on at the border. Look, I have personally been reporting from the border at least a dozen times. Horseback, all-terrain vehicle. I've been out there on helicopters and boats. I've done it all of it. I've seen gang members being arrested. A warehouse, the biggest one you've ever seen, floor-to-ceiling drugs that were confiscated. I've been in a drug smuggling tunnel and much more. The problems down there are real. Human trafficking, drug trafficking. Democrats don't want to address these issues because they'd rather try and now score cheap political points.